Hi everyone! So, whoever's watching this, I don't know if anyone will, but if you are, hello. Today I thought I might do the mental health tag. I found it on a few channels, so I'll link where I found it in the description box. Just thought I'd do this for whoever's watching to get to know me a little bit and see if you have anything in common. Okay, so I have the questions up there, so if I'm looking up there, that's where I'm looking. Number one, what is your mental illness? Let's see, so on paper, I have the official diagnoses of major depressive disorder and EDNOS, EDNOS, eating disorder not otherwise specified, which I don't think I fit the criteria for anymore. I'm pretty much in recovery. I've had, if you watch my last video, a few slip-ups, and I'm struggling a little bit more, but I don't think I really fully fit the criteria for that anymore. Then I'm in dialectical behavior therapy, which is primarily for treating borderline personality disorder. I haven't had, at least in writing, I don't think anyone has formally diagnosed me as it, but my therapist has said, you know, we don't really need to write it down, but basically I fit a lot of the criteria, probably most of it. So that's kind of where I am with that. I'm doing treatment for it, but I don't really feel the need for a psychiatrist to write it down or anything like that. And hopefully I will not fit the criteria for it soon. I'm doing pretty well with a lot of that stuff. So I also struggled with pretty severe OCD symptoms as a young child, and that has kind of faded away as the years have gone on. I occasionally have compulsions and obsessive thoughts, and sometimes intrusive thoughts, but it's not too much of an issue for me. What else? I obviously have anxiety. I don't know if it's generalized anxiety or social anxiety. I don't really care. I took medication for it, but I don't really feel the need to, and I don't have extreme panic attacks a lot of the time, occasionally, but it's manageable. So I'm also working with my therapist, and will be working with her in the future, on trauma issues. I don't really know where that will go. She thinks I might have PTSD. I think if I do, it's a very mild case, and I think that, the symptoms are also twisted together, that it could be, a number of other things. So I'm trying not to worry about that too much right now. So I think that's pretty much it for what I am dealing with. When was I diagnosed is the second question. Let's see. I started therapy my senior year of high school, so that was almost 4 years ago? Almost 5 years ago, because it was at the start of, or middle of my senior year, I'm not sure, probably 4 years ago. So that's when I started therapy. I think I had talked to my doctor about my depression earlier, but they didn't really do anything about it. So, and then I was diagnosed with EDNOS a couple years ago, and that had been going on for a year or so at the time. And now I'm working on other stuff in DBT. 3, who knows about it? It's kind of a tough question because I don't have a lot of people in my life. My doctors know about it. My parents know about the depression and anxiety, basically. We don't really talk about it explicitly. I don't really like to worry them, so I'm very vague about it. I don't really have any close friends right now, but the friends that I do have know about my depression and anxiety. I'm a lot more reserved about talking about the trauma, BPD symptoms, and, stuff like that. I feel a little bit more self-conscious about, and I am a little more afraid to tell people because of judgment. Like anxiety and depression, though there's still a stigma and people don't really understand it as much as those of us that struggle with it would hope. I think a lot of people know at least one person who deals with it. So, but the other stuff, I think, is a little harder to explain. 4, what treatment have I had? I have had, I've had 3 different cognitive behavioral therapists over the years. For only about a year each, maybe 2 years for the last one. I'm no longer seeing any of them. Then, in my freshman year of college, I started seeing the school dietitian because of my eating issues, and there wasn't really a specialized eating disorder specialist on campus, so the nutritionist agreed to see me about once a week or once every 2 weeks, and she really tried her hardest, but I felt really bad because, she was trying to teach me kind of practical stuff, and at the time I was still working through a lot of issues that were causing my eating problems, so I still really struggled with that. I also saw a few therapists at my school's counseling center, which is free, but they don't really like to see people on a regular basis. They try to refer you to someone off campus who can see you more regularly, so I didn't really go there a lot. I also, let's see. I guess then I started DBT, so that's my most recent thing that I'm doing. So I think that's it. Hardest part about living with a mental illness is the 5th question. For me, I would say how much it isolates me, and I think that might be true for a lot of people with mental illnesses, just for this fact that it's a little hard to explain to people who aren't dealing with it themselves, but also for me specifically, I tend to isolate a lot, and it's very hard for me to become close to people. So I think that's the hardest thing, is that anxiety and fears have held me back a lot, and I've not, I don't know. I don't want to say I haven't put enough effort in, because that's kind of putting myself down. I think I can try harder, and I could have tried harder, but also at the same time, I think I was really trying very hard, and it was just circumstances that made it very difficult for me to have healthy relationships. So I'm working on that. And, another difficulty, I think, is just the pain of it. Like, especially with depression, it's at times, it's kind of like just a pain you can't explain, and trying to explain that pain to people is very difficult, and it can make you feel like, you know, the boy who cried wolf sometimes, because there's not really anything you can show people. You can only try to explain that, yeah. 6, something that surprised you about your illness or recovery. I guess it was surprising to me about just finding out about DBT and finding out that there was a whole brand of therapy specifically designed to help people like me who are emotionally sensitive and dealing with like emotion regulation and distress tolerance and stuff like that. What else surprised me? I'm not sure. I can't think of anything else. 7, what is one false assumption about your particular disorder you want to correct? What comes to mind right away is misconceptions about BPD. Specifically, a lot of times I see people calling people with BPD manipulative, you know, or like the crazy ex-girlfriend. I think xsullengirl or sullengirl, I'm not sure exactly her username, did a video on that. And I think it is really true. Like when I search BPD and videos on BPD, a lot of it is good because there's a lot of interesting stuff coming out, but there's also a lot of bad stuff that's like, you know, they say that like it's like a trademark or whatever of people with BPD to be manipulative, and I don't think that is, it's not even part of the criteria. Like, you know, self-harm, not being able to connect with people in certain ways, feeling like you want to push people away, a lot of other criteria are really the what BPD is dealing with. And, you know, sometimes that might lead people to maybe be manipulative or not really know how to communicate, but I definitely don't think it's everyone with BPD, and even those who do struggle with that are really hurting in some ways and need to be understood too, so that they can cope in more healthy ways than they are now. The other one, I guess, would be depression, and people giving so many suggestions of how to make depression go away, and it's really just not how it works. You know, I've been told to pray and that praying will help. I've been told to just, you know, set goals and focus on certain things, which, you know, I'm sure all these suggestions are great for different sorts of people as coping mechanisms, but it's not going to cure depression. Depression is, you know, a lot of times a lifelong struggle that you just, you know, you need to try over and over and over again and just cope and, you know, reduce whatever harm that it might bring and find ways to live with it. But people don't really, or I think it's just a hard concept to accept that some people are in extreme emotional pain and will be for a long time, or, you know, their whole lives. And that's hard for people to understand, but yeah. The last question was similar. It was, what is one false assumption about mental illness you want to correct? Oh, okay. I guess I think a lot of times when people think of mental illness, they automatically think of psychosis, which is only one sort of mental illness. And I guess when people try to communicate what their mental illnesses are and they are not psychotic, people just don't see that as a valid form of mental illness. So, and also people who do have psychosis, I think there's a lot of, you know, stigma and just shaming around that, and it's something that people need help for too. But also, mental illness does not always mean you have a break from reality. It might mean you have a hard time being present, or maybe you have dissociative tendencies, or maybe you have compulsions, but you still have a lot of similarities to every other living person, you know. We're not really that different. We have the same feeling and stuff, we just have, maybe those feelings could be more intense sometimes, or maybe we're dealing with different emotions. Yeah, just that. So that is the end of the tag. This video is really long, so I'm going to end it here. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you later. Bye.